Internet! Welcome to Popcorn Chicken. This is episode 5, I think, of when we're talking about MoonKnight. So grab a drink, grab some snacks. We're going to talk about episode 5, full of spoilers of MoonKnight. It was an episode, and stay tuned. We're going to get into it. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and if you are subscribed, we give away prizes every month. So leave a comment down below, and we'll pick random person every single month and give them away some prizes. What are we going to give away this week or month? What is? I don't know what day it is. I don't know what we're giving away. So I'm going to bring on Elvin and Nathan, our resident Egyptologist and head honcho here at.
Oh, you're talking about me? Yes, I
A&R. Yeah. Well, I got to move myself over to this side because I'm looking over in this direction. So now it's concise. Elvin, what are we giving away this month for prizes? Do we know yet?
Acquired a Doctor Strange figure. So we're going to give a Doctor Strange figure away when we go to our first drop, our first video that we're going to do from the new office. We're going to give a Doctor Strange figure away. So if you're a subscriber, you're going to have a chance to win if you leave a comment on our videos. Just in time for the movie.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking sugar-free. This thing, I'm addicted to.
The Starlight.
If this thing disappears, I don't know. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. It's going to disappear soon. I'm just trying
we're just going to figure out how to mix
cream soda and
and whatever the other one is.
Well, here's the thing. Does the new office, do we have that stocked up in the fridges yet? Got to fill them with, fill the fridges with it, so that way we have a stockpile for a while.
The funny thing is I can't find this at Walmart.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're saying you can't find it in large quantities, just like singles.
Yeah, just singles at the gas station.
So maybe we keep harping on that Starlight train and tagging Coca-Cola, and maybe we'll get a Coca-Cola Starlight sponsorship, and they'll just send us a fridge full of it.
What we need to do is rob a Coca-Cola truck. That's what we need to do.
I mean, that'll be the
ask for a
option B.
You look at the Fast and Furious where you drive underneath the truck, right?
Yeah.
We get a Civic and we drive underneath the truck.
Totally.
And then derail
Nathan, what are you consuming?
I am drinking a Steamworks Pilsner tonight.
Ooh.
Steamworks.
Local Vancouver. Shout out to...
Yeah, not a sponsor, but hopefully one day.
Yeah, Steamworks.
That'd be nice. Steamworks is good. I
am drinking a Moody Ales and Company, who are from Port Moody. Go figure. Raspberry lavender sour.
Sounds like a girly drink.
It's fucking delicious.
Sours. I would not say a sour is a girly drink. I've had sours before. They kind of like kick you and just in your tongue. It's like getting your tongue kicked. It's they're strong.
Abrasive. It's a different type of beer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also, don't hate on girly drinks. If I want to drink a martini with 39 umbrellas, I'll fucking do that because I'm a fancy.
This is coming from me, who doesn't even drink alcohol. So,
yeah, you with your Starlight,
my non-alcoholic beverage. So manly.
It is. So, episode 5 of MoonKnight. Holy balls!
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have been going about this show very chronologically. Like, one episode ends, and then the next episode picks up immediately where the last scene was. And this one did the exact same thing, where it was just like, they're in the psych ward. We don't know, like, are they just, like, in somebody's mind? Are they in purgatory? Is this real? Has everything been a lie? And I don't think we even kind of get that answered in this one. It's still kind of up in the air. It's allowing more things to be possible, and it's kind of pointing in certain directions, but still, like, it's not like, oh yeah, it was all a dream, or this whole thing's fake, or whatever. So yeah, we start off with the hippopotamus.
Yeah, hippopotamus.
What did you all think of the hippopotamus character? Well, first off, I guess, Nathan, we have to ask
Are we looking at this as in, what do we think of the character as a Marvel character, or what do we think of the character as historically accurate?
Okay, let's start with historically accurate.
Yeah.
So I will butcher the pronunciation of the name, but Tawaret, something along that. It's the hippo goddess. But she is the goddess of things like
children, birth.
Yeah,
right?
children, birth, fertility is kind of the big one. Hippos are associated obviously with the Nile, and the Nile brings with it fertility. There's a couple fertility gods. It's really important for the Egyptians, obviously when you live in a desert country. But Tawaret does play a role in the transition to death to the Duat, but which is kind of the underworld, the realm of the dead, and then if you're good, you go to the field of reeds. But Tawaret plays a minor role. She usually what she does is she provides like a protection for a part of your soul as it goes into the realm of the dead. She doesn't actually, as we see later in this episode, we'll talk about it. She doesn't actually do all the different activities that she does. It's very, very small. And I actually looked up online. A bunch of people recognized that this was a problem. And they're asking questions about it because the Egyptian underworld, I don't know about you guys, but it's fairly well established, some of the main characters in it. And here in the depiction in MoonKnight, they completely neglected to show those gods that usually are shown to be associated with the underworld.
Quick question. Is she supposed to have the Jamaican hairstyle?
I think that's more of a interpretation. I haven't seen a depiction like that, but
so this is the possibly MCU depiction, not the real Egyptian depiction, right?
Well, if we look at the kind of the clothing that Tawaret's wearing, it looks, I wouldn't say accurate, but it's not disingenuous. The purple fingernails, the blue fingernails certainly look kind of Egyptian, matching that style of blue and gold. The scarab was important for life, but also represents death. Scarf. It also helps represent death in like the transition from life to death. And so wearing that also kind of depicts that. The headgear, while I'm not too familiar with anything beyond the regular white and red crowns of Egypt, of Upper and Lower Egypt, this does look fairly accurate. No, the depiction's not bad. I admit the voice was a little off, sounded a little different from what I expected her to be.
Yeah, I think that was probably the only issue I had with this episode was her like borderline Emma Watson portrayal.
I didn't even think of that.
Of just like kind of jovial, jaunty, like playful British schoolgirl kind of thing, and it kind of like I think that was the Disney coming out of just like this playful, like, I don't have a card for that. Give me a sec. Ooh.
Yeah,
and like kind of goofy, funny. I think that was a bit of Disney-ism coming through, and just like, because this was a fucking heavy episode, so I think they kind of wanted to balance the rest of like the fucking depressive shit, and, like really dark stuff.
I didn't think they wanted it too dark. Yeah, that's probably the reason.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it.
Pretty heavy.
No, it was, but I mean, if they had like this serious like deity of just like, you are here to be judged, go to your memories, and then they just go through all this dark, depressive shit of them like coming to terms with like all of this stuff, then it would just be like non-stop, heavy, hard shit. And so they were just like, let's put this fun, happy-go-lucky, kind of goofy person in there so that people don't kill themselves when they watch this episode.
Look, it's a friendly hippo.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. Hippo's here. Ha ha ha. Everything's okay.
So this right off the bat, like you said, it's goofy, and I was just like, what is this? Like, what are we doing with this? And then she opens the door, or she tells him to go through, right?
Yeah. No. So they had some really great conversations in there, and because she was like, oh yeah, this is and he's like, oh, this is the afterlife, oh whatever, and she was like, no, this is an afterlife, there are many of them,
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then he's like, and she's like, well, because this realm can't be comprehended by humans, so it kind of just comes forward as, you know, whatever your mind kind of sets it to. And then she's like, or no, and then Mark or Steven was like, in a psych ward? She's like, yeah, it could come up as a psych ward. It's a first for me, but, you know, we can run with it. And then Steven's just like, why did it come up as a psych ward? And Mark's just like, because we're insane. Because we're crazy. Because there's a talking hippo. You're now here. And all of these are just, there's a people in here. They're going to play bingo. And then he opens the door, and then then they come out to the ship. And he's like, I'm not crazy. Oh, shit, this is real.
I have to ask you guys, did you ever question a bit if he was actually insane?
Yes.
Yeah, I felt that as well. I really thought that.
I question it too because I question it a lot because there's a comic run that they're borrowing from, right? So right now, with 5 episodes already in the book and 1 more to go, it seems like what they're doing is they're taking 2 comic book runs from the MoonKnight comic series and they're mashing it together. They're taking elements from one and another from another and putting it together. This is what MCU does. Like, they always do this. They take elements from something in the comic books, but they change just enough so it's refreshing and new for a lot of people. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, and also too, they're condensing sometimes decades of storylines into something that, because they don't know, like, their track record is good, but they do have some things that, you know, don't do quite amazingly. So they're like, okay, this might only go for 1 season. If it blows up and people really love it, then, you know, we can still do more stories specific to Moon Knight, and there's still a lot of subject matter to pull from. Yeah. But we just want to, they kind of do this with all their properties where they just go, here's an introductory series, whether it's a movie or a TV show. And then now that's established, and then it becomes part of the MCU, where then they can have it in like Civil War type or like bigger movies where there's a lot of people. So then it's not just like, okay, we got to spend half the movie explaining who this fucking guy is. I've already done that. So that I can see why. And again, like, when you're going from comic or book, and I mean, any series does this, where they will have their own interpretation of it, because a lot of the times they don't want to just do, like, I mean, just as far as artistry goes, if you're taking or redoing something, you don't just want to go word for words, do the same thing, because, you know, that's not interesting to make. If you're just going, okay, copy paste there, fan base, are you happy? I did the thing that it was the same. So they're taking a lot of story points from multiple different eras and then kind of creating it into this homogenized story arc that will then work in the bigger picture of the MCU. So
that's the summarized version, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at now? She's basically given the little bits about what they're in right now. They are now aware that they're dying or dead. Did she say they're dead, or she said they're dying?
No, she said you're dead.
Yep.
And then she rips their hearts out, and then
so brutal.
Yeah, and then has a nice little cute comedic thing of just like, oh, I'm so glad it worked. I thought maybe I might just explode your chests. And then just takes their hearts, puts them on the scale. They re-explain, oh, it's the scales of truth and the justice and the feather of truth or whatever, which in the next Avengers movie, that's what they're gonna need to collect to make the armor to defeat Satan or something. I don't know. And so then it starts like losing its shit, and then they go, what is it doing? And then she goes, I don't know, I've never seen it do that before. And then she's like, in the boat, there's all your memories, so you guys gotta go deal with some shit. So get at her.
So quick question to Nathan. Does this look familiar to you? Have you seen this scale, like the way it's shaped, or is it different? So
the scale is real. And in the scale, this image here, they clearly show Anubis, the jackal-headed god, But the problem with this here is during the episode, we saw the hippo goddess be the one that removes the hearts. However, in Egyptian mythology, she would not be doing that. It would be Anubis who does that, the jackal-headed god. So when she says...
Anubis is chilling then, you're saying? Anubis is slacking in the MCU.
So I've got two guesses as to why this is happening. Two little theories. One of them, and I think it's a bit backed up by Tawaret when she says that, I was worried I was going to make your chest explode. I think it's because she's out of practice. She hasn't done this much or at all before. And so this is kind of a little hint as to why she's doing this. Maybe Anubis is doing something else. Maybe he's... I don't know. Maybe he. Okay, I got a theory. Maybe he's trying to make sure that Amit doesn't get loose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe he's currently out of town on business.
He might be.
But might be because isn't he the gatekeeper? Like, isn't he supposed to protect the realm?
Yeah, well, that's also too that she says later that like she can get them out at Anubis's gate. That's the only one that she can get to. But if he's going to be there, he would be like, "Fuck you! They're not allowed to get out."
Yeah.
So I think they did like allude to it that he's not around.
Yeah. So usually, depictions either show Anubis or Osiris, who's kind of the god of the dead. That's why he's depicted with the green skin, because he himself died and was put back together. He was the one that we talked about that had a wooden appendage. But it's usually Anubis or Osiris that leads the dead through the duat. But one little one little interesting part about the hearts here that's shown in the image is that the color of them and kind of the style is very similar to what they look to what the canopic jars look like. And those are the jars that we've seen them occasionally. Do you remember in episode 4 when that kind of dead priest,
the clay jars,
it looks kind of like the same color as the clay jars, almost made out of the same material. And it's interesting because the hearts were never removed from the body when the mummification process was occurring. They removed everything else except the heart, because obviously Anubis had to weigh the heart later. So it's interesting to see that they've depicted it like the canopic jars, which was used to store the organs, other organs. And they call it the Feather of Truth. Sorry, my last little fact here. They call it the Feather of Truth, which is true. It's also known as the Feather of Ma'at, who's another god. So it's kind of interesting to see the artistic choices that Marvel's decided to go along with, as well as either if they're playing with mythology, just for fun, or if there's actually a reason behind it that we'll later on see in the final episode.
Interesting. Yeah, because I wanted to ask you about how it looked. I like the fact that she's pulled out 2 hearts. Didn't that strike you guys odd that she pulled out 2 hearts?
Yeah, but again, we don't know how based in reality this is, so that might be in his mind because he's justifying the existence of both Mark and Steven. Then that's why she's doing it. And if this is happening, then he's still just slightly delusional, but really she's just ripping out 1.
Yeah, it's I was just like, right away when I saw that, I'm like, okay, why is she ripping out 2 hearts? Should be just 1 heart, right? And it wasn't like she took it and made it to 2 pieces. They're 2 individual hearts.
Yeah,
right. And she said that too. So she said, she said it was just not balanced or something. The scale kept going wonky. She's like, you need to go back into the void or whatever. What's that plane called?
The Vault of Memories.
Yeah,
the vault.
She's like, your asses need to go back in there because you done did it now, right? So,
well, and it was also interesting too because when she felt them, she was like, they're not full. So that was almost, I thought, like a hint of just like, oh, you're not done yet. And I thought there were a bunch.
You
of
know what I
in
thought?
This episode. Yeah.
I immediately thought of Jack. Sorry. What's the name?
The taxi driver, right?
Yeah. Immediately thought, I'm like, oh, maybe they're gonna go find him, right?
There were a bunch of times, there were a bunch of times in this episode where they said something, and I thought it was just gonna be a cop out to just be like, all right, go back, finish your work. But they didn't.
Sorry, not Jake. Sorry, not Jack. Jake.
Jake, Jake Lockley.
Jack is one of our co-workers, so I keep getting confused.
So the not full heart yet could mean that there is still a heart to be placed on here, which would then do something.
But did you guys think that though? Like when she said go back, I immediately thought of that, but I'm wondering what you guys thought. Nathan, what do you think? You thought of that?
I thought that too, but that's what my first thought was. But I also think maybe she meant that they're not full as in each one's one half and together they make the whole. But I feel like the initial reaction that there is one more person that was missing so far, I think that's more likely what they meant, because we've had hints. We know that there's another kind of.
Oh, and we had hints in this episode too.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we had hints. Yeah,
there were a couple. Yeah.
All right, so where are we at now?
So then they go back into the boat. They start going through memories, and they start going through rooms, and then the first room they go to was this like waiting room with all these zombies, and then Steven's like, oh, I guess this room full of dead people. It's not a stretch of the imagination to figure out who fucking room this is, eh? And then there's all these dead people around, and he starts going like, oh yeah, Dubai, New York, yeah, I remember these guys, whoops.
By the way, sorry, what do you think of the boat? Is that accurate?
It's missing one thing.
Okay. I want to know.
Hot take.
So my guess, if I have to guess here, the boat,
don't say the sails. Don't say the sails.
Well, actually, yes, it is. But I think this is kind of a slight oversight. So, Tutankhamun, very famous pharaoh, even though he had a very minor role in Egyptian history, when his tomb was excavated, like most tombs and most royal tombs, they'd have some figure of a boat, because that's how they'd cross to the field of reeds, and they'd carry on that boat all the things that they need with them in the afterlife. But they'd have those figures of the boats, and when Howard Carter, who's the lead excavator and one of the most famous archaeologists in history, when he was cataloging and archiving everything, they lost the mast. So for many years, the boat of Tutankhamun was in the museum with no mast. And so very often people look at that as an example of what a boat, what an Egyptian kind of funerary boat would look like.
A barge,
and my guess is that when the, I don't know what to call them, the artists or the designers decided to look at an example of one of these Egyptian funerary boats, they looked at Tutankhamun's boat, which didn't have the mast because it was missing for many years.
I don't know if you guys seen the Loki TV show, but when they go into that, that field outdoors, and it's near the end of the show, it's similar to this. It's very dark and eerie and blue and gray, right?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of parallels between Egyptian mythology and Norse mythology too.
Yeah,
river Styx, or field of reeds. There's a lot of
I thought it looked beautiful. This this
episode, all of the art direction, and also too, one thing I wanted to note, since it was so heavily featured Oscar Isaac playing two roles, there were some scenes, especially when he's tossing him with himself and pushing himself around, that were so fucking well done that for not even a second did my mind go, this is one person playing this role. There were so many scenes where he's shoving him and like grabbing him and like flipping him around and stuff. The camera work and the direction and the choreography for this episode were on point. Like there was no point where I was like, that's body double, that's a guy with the CG face or whatever, because like even if
it was well
even
done,
if it's like slightly noticeable and it's like, oh, okay, like it's done well, but I know that that's a fake person or whatever. Not 1 point, and I watched the episode twice. Not 1 point there was any like mix up or anything. Like they nailed it. Like they did such a good job.
What you're saying is Mike Hernandez did a great job.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
he nailed it. All right, and hopefully hopefully we get to ask. So.
Hopefully, I don't know, like on Instagram or whatever, Twitter. Yeah. Maybe we can ask him on Twitter or something.
All right. Sorry to cut you guys off. Continue. Where were we?
We were in the room with the dead people.
I wish I had pictures of that. Darn it.
Then there's a kid, and then he's like, "What the fuck's a kid doing here in front of in a room full of people? You fucking."
Did he really say that? I don't think
he did. He was just like,
"Oh, okay."
He was like, "What's a kid doing in a room full of people you killed, Mark?" And he's just like, "That's fine. Leave him alone. Don't worry about it." And then he chases the child. Then they go into a room, and then Steven quickly closes the door as Mark is hot on his heels, and then he locks the door behind him, and Mark starts bashing on the door.
Did you gotta find that weird? Why he locks the door on him? Like, why?
I think because he knew Mark was trying to stop him from witnessing it. He knew Mark was hiding.
But here, let me say it in a different way. Let's say you two are with me in this ward, and you guys see something in a door or something, and I'm part of this world, and I know this place more than anybody else, better than anybody else, and you guys see something happening in a distance in the door, and I tell you not to go to that door because it's not good for you. Would you go do it?
If you had been lying to me this whole time and you have been fabricating the life that I knew and I don't trust you at all, abs-fucking-lutely. And then I would lock the door because there are so many times where Mark has been like, don't do this or blah, blah, blah. And then Steven's found out that Mark is just a terrible person and was just killing all these people. And that's why he randomly shows up in places. So he doesn't trust him. And this is, again,
you don't think he trusts him now? I thought them being in this situation from the last episode where they hugged it out like crazy.
Yeah, sure, but still,
that there was a trust level there.
Yeah, but that goes away when, as he just stated,
a giant hippo shows up.
Well, yeah, but no.
I think they were scared before that. That's why they hugged. It was just the fear and the happiness of just seeing each other and having that calming, that relaxing effect. But when
those are valid points. But what I'm saying is, you're in this weird place together. Shit's already happened in the other episode where they're freaked out. They see a giant hippo, right? And they freak out again. Maybe not go and do things on your own will be a good idea, considering the shit that's already went down in the previous episode and what you're already in front of.
True, but they're already dead. What's the worst that can happen?
But again,
they could be permanently dead.
But as the hippo said, I like how we're just calling her the hippo. She was like,
"You can't pronounce her name, that's why."
Yeah, nobody knows how to pronounce it.
Turret.
There's no way. That is correct, Elvin. Elvin, that is correct.
Turret.
As Nathan has stated, there's no one who knows how to pronounce any of these things. So this is the first time.
Exactly. So what I said could technically be true.
It is. That,
there you go.
Your word is the law.
Yeah.
But so that he just said, "Oh, why is there a child in a room full of people that you've killed?" So immediately he's just like, "You're fucking crazy. You're killing kids.
Yeah.
I don't trust you. You're horrible. You're a monster." So then. And also, the hippo was just like, you guys need to go into there, go through your memories, sort some shit out, and figure out... She said something along the lines of, like, figure out what lies or what truth or something. Like, she essentially was just like, you guys need to go and, like, be truthful and find out everything you can. So he was just like, this needs to be investigated. You're trying to stop me? Fuck you.
This is why I don't like Steven. This is why I just can't stand him. As a character.
Well, he knew though that
he
things
genuinely pisses me off. This character,
but we find out his purpose in this episode. Oh, do we ever?
Oh my god, I don't know what.
Before we get to that though, yeah, we got to go through the steps before we get there.
Okay, go for it.
So then they go to the barbecue. His mom's grilling up some things,
some mean steaks, right?
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, mommy," and then then he goes, "Oh wait, I have a brother." What? And then he's like, nice fish, asshole. It's only got one fin."
I don't think the kid said that, but okay.
Which, this was a little note. There were a lot of these things when he was just like, "Oh, look, you drew a fish with one fin," and he's like, "Be nice to your brother," or whatever. But that's the fish that he had, which also solidifies the fact that he's not real.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Nice,
So that was a bomb that got dropped.
Nice.
And so he's just like, "Yeah, nice fish, asshole." And then he's like, "I'm not hungry. Let's go play in the cave." And then he's like, "Okay." And then his mom's like, "I'm going to say some foreshadowing." And then she goes, "You got to protect your brother." And he's like, "All right, later, Gator." And she's like, something.
Yes. That line, later, Gator.
Yeah, later, skaters. And she's like, "In a while, crocodile." Then they fuck off to the thing. He calls him a bitch on the way there or something because it's raining.
He does not do that.
Yeah, he does. He's just like, "It's raining." Whatever, pussy. Let's go. So then they go to the caves.
Wait, did anyone else find it strange that they're just in this nice neighborhood and then very quickly they're just at this area with this perfectly formed cave entrance that's kind of in the shape of a door? Anyone else find that kind of strange?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I thought Doctor Strange came and gave him a portal. That's what I thought.
Yeah, they had a portal. But also they while they were walking,
it's Chicago. There's always caves everywhere, right?
Yeah, they got the Chicago caves, famous for. That's where all the fucking bears live. Duh.
Exactly. That's why they're called the Cubs. Jeez.
Yeah. So while they're walking through the forest or the field, they start RPing whatever that explorer show is. The Doctor and whatever Indiana Jones, but not actually. Anyway.
Okay. What about this? What about this? Is this Khonshu saying, "I'm still here. Hello, I'm still here"? What is this? What is the purpose of this?
I think that's just some good artistic direction. I think it's just like here's a creepy thing. Here's a path of death kind of thing. Like oh, this is foreboding.
Maybe it's a little fragmentation in his mind, just making this up.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's some subconscious thing, just kind of like bad shit ahead.
I was just thinking that maybe this is Khonshu's little bit of residue on his mind saying, "Hey, I'm still here somewhere deep in your crevice of your subconscious mind here. I'm still here. Don't forget me."
I completely overthought this then. If it was just that.
What did you think? What? You just thought it was just bones?
No. So I overthought this.
No, this is what I was waiting for.
Somebody was eating wings by the cave.
So in MoonKnight, Khonshu's depicted as having a kind of a crow. It's a crow head. Unless it's a raven.
Okay,
it looks kind of like a crow. And this is what I suspect is a dead crow. And when you know what a group of crows together is called, right?
A murder.
It's a murder. So in my mind, there's like, okay, first,
wow,
he's gonna murder his brother.
You went straight philosophical, huh? Like this, yeah, you went crazy.
I like it.
I would too. I saw that.
Philosophical
like, they must
all
have
the
put
way.
that there on purpose.
Yeah, I'm just thinking straight up what every other non-educated person probably thought.
You didn't know
Khonshu saying hi.
Murder?
No, I didn't. I'm not saying that. I just thought this right away. Khonshu saying hi.
Yeah.
Don't forget me.
The murder of crows.
Nathan just went straight up crazy.
I think you're more accurate though. I think mine just might be a coincidence, but
your university mind has warped you, sir.
Also, he's. Oh no, never mind. That's never mind. So anyway, then they get to the cave. Then it starts raining, and he goes, "Mom said not to go in the cave when it's raining." And he's like, "Fuck you, pussy." Then they run into the cave. And then the torrential downpour starts. Yeah. Then the torrential downpour starts. They start getting all the water hoses, and the FX team dumps a fire hydrant on a fucking cave. Then the kid starts screaming. Steven goes, "No, follow my voice." But he's an ethereal being. They can't hear him. This is a memory. So then the kid drowns or whatever. Then they
should have sent Elon in with his submarine.
They should have, yeah. Oh, that was a good joke. So then how do they get to the next scene from this? Because Steven's going in there, and then Do they just like appear back? Is this when it?
Well, you just hear a bunch of crying. The kid crying.
Yep.
Save.
Yeah, kid dies.
Yep.
Whatever. Does it go right to the?
I know. I think you
Mark?
can hear the audio of the next clip right before they move over, before they transition.
Yeah.
So you can you're in the cave, you realize, oh, he's dead now.
Yeah.
I gotta look up who directed this because this.
But he wakes up in the office again,
such-
right? With Harrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say he wakes up in the office, or do they do the funeral thing? Does it go to the funeral next?
Oh yes, yeah. Where the mom. Right?
I think it does. Hold on, I'm just gonna. Yeah, so I think they go to the funeral. His mom's crying, obviously, and everyone's super sad. Dead kid. Everyone's sad.
Mom wasn't crying. Mom was like more of like in.
Yeah, she's just a
shock
shell.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then Mark comes down the stairs. Little baby Mark, little 11-year-old Mark comes down the stairs, and then we see the scene that we saw in the very beginning of the episode of her going, "It's all your fault, fuck you."
Yeah.
And then he runs upstairs.
We have birthday parties.
And then it goes to the birthday parties. Mom doesn't come down. Goes to another birthday party.
Mom is there on that one.
Mom is there,
but she got some of that bourbon there in her hands, or whiskey.
And then he goes, "I hate you," or whatever. He throws his hat, and then he runs upstairs. Oh yeah, okay. Runs upstairs, goes into his room. Steven tries to follow him, and at this point, Mark is then caught up to him, and then grabs him, and then it goes into the. It doesn't get to this part yet.
Was it not this one?
No, this was later.
Okay.
Because this is when, it's late. This is later still. So then they do the birthday thing. Then they're in the street, which was the first memory that they saw through a window, and Steven was just like, this was oof. Like in retrospect.
Okay, what did everybody think with this? I want everyone's opinion.
Okay,
I'm gonna give you mine.
I saw the cab. I saw a motherfucker standing there, and I was like, "That's Jake." That I thought
right away. I didn't even think twice. Right away.
That's the first thing I thought.
And I have a feeling Mark is lying to Steven right now at this scene.
But it's not, because we see this scene later.
No, I just think that he's lying, not telling. He's not saying how he got there. Like he didn't tell him, right? How he got there. Do you remember how Steven asks him, "What's this all about?" And he doesn't tell him that. How did he get there? We see it
later, though. No, but we see that later when Mark is, because that's Mark, and then later it's Steven. So so he pulls them out after he sees the little Mark going into the bedroom. Then they start fighting in the street, and this was the scene when they were literally tussling and fighting and stuff that blew my mind as far as the choreography and everything. And at no point did I think there were one Oscar Isaac. Then it cuts, you see older Mark when he's like 17 or whatever, running away, and his dad's like, "No, you can't, we'll fix it," and he's just like, "You fucking should have." When I was developing as a child.
In all of this? Where's the dad in all of this?
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, he's season 2 is going to be the most personalities of his dad that fucking developed after dealing with all that shit.
Do you know, like,
and it's
where was his dad? But I felt like his dad seemed kind of nice later on in the funeral scene. You feel like and even at the birthday, you feel like the dad kind of understands, like, my son's going through this horrible thing, this horrible time.
Oh yeah.
But he just doesn't quite know how to deal with his wife, who's traumatized and just absolutely devastated by the loss of one of her sons. And the way that she copes with this is she blames the other remaining one for it, and he doesn't know how to deal with these two worlds.
Yeah, because who the fuck does? Like, that's professional help is needed.
Yeah,
so then, yeah, exactly. So finally they get to a doctor. But so then Steven tackles Mark, bad guy tackles good guy. Jesus Christ. Mark tackles Steven, then they end up in the desert because more things are about to develop about his personal life and he doesn't want that. So then he tackles him, they go to another memory. They're in the desert and he's just like, "Oh shit, is that Layla's dad or whatever?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, what happened? And he's like, the guy killed everyone. He's like, well, what happened to you? And he's just like, points over there, and he's like, I'm over there, dying, motherfucker. So then they go to the crypt or the tomb of Khonshu, and we get to see the beginning of that relationship and how Khonshu was just like, so, yo, you look pretty rough there, bud. You look damaged and broken. You are my kind of people. You want to go fuck up a bunch of bad dudes and be my avatar? And he's just like, gun to his head. He's, okay, whatever. And then you see him first. I think this is the first time MoonKnight was ever said in the show too.
Yes.
And he was like, "You will be my MoonKnight."
I'm gonna admit that sounded a little strange hearing him say that.
It did. It
had to be done though. It had to be done.
Yeah.
It had to be done, right? One thing we forgot to mention is when they were walking to the cave, his brother says his name.
What do you mean? He says
Dr. Grant?
Oh, he says Dr. Grant because that was the character's name in the TV show.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like his brother's name is Grant, isn't it?
No. That's when they were RPing. They were playing because they put on British accents and they were pretending to be those characters from that TV show that they were watching, which you later see on the poster. And that was the TV show that Steven or Mark was watching when he first got into the insane asylum, right before it cut there. So he got shot, fell into the pool. Then that super cheesy like 80s adventure TV show was playing.
I know that part. But what I'm saying is when they were walking towards the cave for the first time as kids.
Yeah.
What did he say? He was saying something there. He's like,
yeah, they were playing.
What is the brother's name?
The characters. Roro.
Brother's name is Roro? No.
The little brother's name is Roro.
That might be a nickname for him.
It might be, but he said Mr. Grant because they were playing those characters. They were running and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go on an adventure."
Oh yeah, okay,
whatever. And he's like, "Oh, I think so, Mr. Grant."
For a split second, I thought that was the kid's name, Grant.
Oh, no.
Okay, gotcha.
That was the character's name, which later we find out more about.
That was, and then we saw that in episode 4 as well. That
a little teaser of that TV show.
Yeah.
Before they jump him into the insane asylum. So then they're on the tomb thing. We see the Khonshu, and then they get back. Oh no! Then he gets up. Stephen Grant in the past when he first becomes imbued with the powers of MoonKnight, and then they start hearing all this chaos and shit. So then they're like, "We gotta get back out there." So then they jump back to the boat because they know how to warp. I don't know. And then there's all these meteorites and souls coming down. Because
meteorites or bodies,
both. And meteorites made of bodies.
Ash to ash.
Yeah, exactly. Dust to dust. And so Ethan Hawke's up there just fucking judging the world. He's got only God can judge me and I am God tattooed on his fucking chest.
two punk tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, no, you have to have that across your back because apparently everyone does that. They spell it wrong. Anyway. And then they're like, "Yo, Hippo lady, what's going on?" And she's like, "I don't fucking know. This is crazy.
Shit's going to hell."
Yeah. And then he's just like, "We got to get up there." And she's just like, "Well, I can't." And then she was like, "Oh yeah, even if I could get you up there, you'd get up there to a body with 2 bullet holes in it." So, So then they're like, "We got to save Khonshu. Can you contact Layla?" Elvin's favorite character. And then she pulls the line of like, "Oh, we can only get you through the only gate that I can think of is what Anubis is. Was it Anubis or
the gate of Anubis?"
Yeah, it was Anubis's gate. So we can get you through there, but before we get there, you guys gotta still balance your shit." So then they go back in, and then he's like, "Oh, I want to. Okay, let's go through that door." And he's just like, "No." And like up to this point, it was like, okay, this is some pretty heavy stuff. They're going through some shit, and you're seeing kind of the beginnings of this split personality and what happened. And I think from this point on, pretty much, so like the second half, I don't know about you guys, but the second half of this episode, I pretty much had tears going down my face the entire time. It was just like scene to scene to scene, like another thing, just like, fuck you, heart, fuck you, just kept punching me in the gut, and I was just like, oh, poor, oh, God. Oh.
I wish we had cameras on you when you did that.
This was a good episode.
So I wanted to go back to what I was talking about in that scene where they looked through the window and see the cab there. Is what I'm thinking is Jake drove them to that spot, and then Mark became Mark, right, instead of Jake. That's why I see a yellow cab in the background.
Yeah.
And I think he's not telling him though. Like, he's not telling him, hey, I didn't come here willingly. Jake brought me here, right? So I'm just thinking that's another character, and then Steven's probably gonna ask him like, "You're withheld another personality from me too? Like, how bad are you, dude? Like, what do you keep doing this to me, right?" I just think that's another element, maybe.
At this point, and just as far as like a storytelling feature, I don't think they will. I think they would somehow, if they were to do a second season, and this is pure speculation, but just if they do second season,
I heard it or not.
Okay, I don't
not
bring.
Yeah, I heard they're not doing it. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think that they'll bring Jake in at all, because this story, which is quite different, from the original story, as far as like. Moon Knight isn't its own character. Mr. Knight isn't its own character. These are just a split personality, and they're superhero versions. So the kind of theme that they're going for, and kind of, I mean, some people might think of it as watering it down. Bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can sneeze on our show. Just press the mute button, okay?
I don't have a tissue near me. My bad.
It's okay. Use your well, see, this is why you have to have these Khonshu wrappings that I keep next to me here. What else? I still know. I was going to say that we've seen each one of these guys have their own Moon Knight representation.
Yeah.
There's also a third one which only showed up once in the comics. It is an all-black mask, right? And it only showed up one time, and I think that is probably going to be Jake's costume.
Oh.
That's going to be Jake's costume if he.
That's their Megazord version.
All your mummies combined.
And then he becomes
I am
the
Super Mummy.
Super Mummy. I am Mummy Man.
Eat your heart out, Papa. Yeah, Nathan's like, what the hell are you talking about here? Ruining the Egyptian culture here. If you haven't noticed, me and Nathan are destroying the entire culture through our reviews, and to our credit, we are no experts like you, Nathan. But I want to ask you, Nathan,
He's Nathan.
What? Sorry.
Yeah, you called Justin.
Yeah, Nathan, quit fucking up Egyptian history, idiot. Come on.
I was gonna ask you, Nathan, the question. Did you, when you saw this scene here, this part, like, what are your thoughts on like this? What's going on here? Of all the things that's happening, here we are at this scene here where, again, Mark is not 100% okay with opening up here, and Steven's just like, dude, we gotta save ourselves. What are you holding back? And we get to that other scene after, right? Is that the scene where she comes in the room now? With the
no. So they go back into the Hall of Memories, and then Steven's just like, yo, we gotta go into that room, we gotta figure out what this is all about. And then Mark is just like, no, I don't want to do that, it's not worth it. And he's like, if we don't do this, everyone dies, Layla dies.
And then Mark,
so this
but Mark says to him that I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, he was just like, let's just talk about it, because that's his way of dealing with it. And he's just like, I'll sugarcoat it and I won't tell you everything or whatever. because he is constantly this whole time trying to hide something from Steven, which we find out exactly what that is when they get into that room. But this whole time he's still trying to save Steven, and he's trying to protect Steven, because we figure out that that's the whole point of him. And so he goes, no, it's not worth it. And he goes, what do you mean? And so this part, when Steven starts talking to Mark about this, and he goes, if we don't do this, everything we did was for nothing. Layla dies, and that's all on you. That's all your fault. Which
when he said Layla dies, I was like,
yeah, I was just like, whatever, who cares? She was divorced. Yeah. But then he says, this is all your fault, which is kind of, again, foreshadowing, because that was something that
there's a lot of foreshadowing going on.
There is. That's, again, why I wanted to look up who the director was, because this episode...
Well, while you look that up, Nathan can at least answer the question that I asked. Go ahead, Nathan. The floor is yours.
Sorry, just quick revision. You're just asking what I thought of the scene here?
Yeah, I just thought, like, what do you think of at this point right here? What's going on?
Well, that kind of shock for Steven of letting him know that. Sorry, we've gotten to that point, right? This episode is very confusing because it goes back and forth.
There's a lot of back and forth. It's okay if we go back and forth and we kind of go ahead and come back. It's fine. We're just giving our opinions on the scenes anyway.
So, when we see,
like, to me, to me, for when I see this, when I was watching this scene, to me it just felt like Steven is just almost had it with this. Like, he's just like, what part of this you don't understand? We're dead, or we're gonna be dead permanently, and we need to figure this out. And you're still not willing to go through these doors and sort this out. Like, how bad can this be? So he's setting the stage up, right? Like, how bad can this be? And Mark's like, it's pretty bad, bro. Like, I'm willing to tell you right here, but I don't want to go through that again. That is crazy. What I was trying to get to was, that is the defining moment when Steven gets created, right? It is such a huge moment. It changes the entire going forward of Mark's life. Forget MoonKnight. This was the biggest part of his life, right? Where he was so messed up, right?
Well, the whole reason why he keeps hiding all of this is because he doesn't want Steven to realize that he's not real.
Or the pain that he went through.
Well, I actually think it's a different reason.
Okay, go ahead.
That he's not real. I think it was because Steven to him is the stress ball kind of thing. Where when he puts
that's
on
a good way to put it. I like that. That.
Yeah, when he puts on the Steven persona, he kind of lets Steven take control. All that pain that he's dealing with in one scene with the loss of his mother, but also the conflicting feelings about how she treated him as a child, and also that guilt over him thinking that he murdered his younger brother. I think that Steven persona is a way of forgetting that, of everything's fine, the world's happy, I'm fine, and he kind of puts that guise on. And he's trying to keep this hidden from Steven, because as soon as Steven finds out, that's gone now. He's no longer this happy, innocent guy. Yeah, he has to deal with it the same as Mark. And I think it's interesting here, because at first when I watched the episode, I saw Mark wearing white, Steven wearing black. I thought, okay, that's just a way for us to distinguish one over the other. It's a clear contrast.
One is obviously muddled in darkness. The other one is sort of a beacon of light. Right?
Yes, but Mark is the one that's dressed in white, and he's the one that killed people. But when you really look at what he's wearing, he is wearing the clothes of someone in an asylum. Steven's wearing kind of casual wear, loungewear, something you'd wear around the house. But Mark, even though we see that he's in kind of that asylum, that psych ward, throughout a lot of the episode, not just running around with Steven, but also with his doctor there. But it's kind of interesting because he's the only one dressed up like that. So in my mind, it's making me think, okay, because we know Steven's part of he's a figment of his imagination, kind of his alter personality, and Mark's the original. We're really portraying Mark here. He is kind of insane. It's no longer just some guy that's got these two personalities and he's working together with his other personality. It's an insane man that has been given all this power, and sure, he can function, but he's still crazy. And this is kind of a clear indicator to me, him dressed up in the clothes of a patient.
Ironically, you're wearing the same shirt as him.
Ah, my giant.
and you're wearing the same shirt as.
Oh shit!
And I'm wearing Conchu Gray. No.
Yeah.
No, what I'll say was to the colors you were talking about. I was saying that one's is muddled in darkness, therefore he's wearing the black, and one is a beacon of light, therefore he's wearing white. Right? I was looking at it from that point of view. Let's go to that part where he's in that room, and this is where Justin cried a lot. I know Justin cried a lot in this part.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so he gets into the room, and then his mom is right after he throws his hat down.
Okay. So before his mom comes in the room, he knows that his mom's banging on the door.
Yeah, his mom's bashing the door, and so
Mark,
he's like,
Mark's like, I gotta. Like, Mark goes into this little shell and starts like, okay, and then you see him kind of fidget, the eyes kind of roll back, and he turns into Steven.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I got the indication that Steven was in here all along. Like, for the longest time, I thought he was, when he became an adult is when Steven came into play, right? This is the first indication to all of us that Steven was a personality all the way back to when he was a kid.
And it was the character that his brother was playing when they were playing.
Yeah.
So he took that persona and then just like flipped over, and that was his coping mechanism.
That's
was just
crazy.
like, no, this is Steven here. He's the good kid. He's going to clean up everything, and everything is okay.
It's crazy. Like, and then you see the poster on the obviously in the wall, right?
What do you guys?
Is
No fear, or
I freaked out. I was like, "Whoa, this is deep! Like, this is deep right here."
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Well, one thing that I thought was kind of interesting was when Steven, the adult Steven, was getting to witness how his mother was acting, and he got upset when he said, "Why are you remembering her like this? She wasn't like this. She wasn't like cruel and mean." She was kind of, and so it makes me think, okay, so this young Steven, even when his mom was being horrible to him, he's still viewing her as this almost angelic figure. It's the same mother. We know he's not imagining that he had some other altered life, completely separate from Mark. He views himself as having the same life as Mark, but he's just looking at it in a very positive way, which kind of reinforces the idea that Mark was using him, kind of just to get rid of that pain. Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, since he turns to Steven and Steven's cleaning up here, good old boy Steven cleaning up here, the mom opens the door and comes in there. So, does that mean Steven was getting the brunt of the abuse?
I think it would switch back to Mark for that.
You think so?
Why do you say that? Because when he was getting pulled out of the room, Steven was going, I want to see what she does to him, because he doesn't know. So I think in that moment is when that Steven character was created, but then to protect that part of Steven, Mark came back, took the abuse, and then Steven, so pretty much when things are good, it flips over to Steven, so that life can grow. And
therefore, Steven always remembers the good stuff that happened.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why he has.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish. I don't want to cut you off there.
Well, yeah, that's why he has a good outlook on his mom and good memories of his mom, and all of the bad things were Mark. And we see later when he goes to the Shiva, when he goes to the funeral, he shows up there to pay his respects or to do his thing, and then he's just like, I can't fucking deal with this. So then he walks a bit, breaks down in the street, which again fucking ruined me. Like, Oscar Isaac's performance in this was just mind-blowing, and he breaks down in the middle of the street, starts just like losing his shit, and then when it becomes like, when he's like, okay, I'm done, that's it, it's time, it's happy time now, he flicks back to Steven. And then he goes, oh, where am I? Oh, bloody hell. Oh, bloomy.
Like, look at this.
and then fake calls his mom.
He pulls he pulls an Undertaker move here.
Yeah. And so picks up his phone and starts having a fake conversation. And I do like the choice that they made to allow you to see the phone and the phone screen, and it's just on the home screen. There's no conversation. Yeah. So that is all in his head.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh, I've done it again. I'm lost. It's sort of around here." And also too, for all the people who were fucking making fun of Oscar Isaac's British accent, even though it was just a Martin Freeman impression, this completely justifies him having a shit British accent, because it's just some 4-year-old or some like 11-year-old that was just like trying to do a British accent that he heard on TV. So there's a plot armor for you. That's why his accent, some people are saying, is garbage.
All right. Okay, sorry. Nathan, what were you going to say? You were going to say something too.
When we were talking about how when kind of the bad things happen and he switched to Mark so that way Steven would be protected, it made me think of the first episode where whenever there is some sort of violent action needed, Steven would pass out and Mark would take over. Mm-hmm. And he'd just kind of wake up afterwards being like, oh, I don't know what happened. Why do I have this gun in my hand? It's kind of similar where as a kid, Steven, according to kind of this theory, as a kid, Steven would, go about his day, but anytime harsh action was taken against him, I say harsh action, anytime his mom was going to beat him or be cruel to him, that's when Mark came by. So Steven had this perfect view of her still. Yeah. And Mark took all that abuse, and we see that later in episode 1 and 2. Well, whenever Mark needs to be a badass.
I wonder when Jake comes into play. Is it when he leaves and becomes, like, when he's a teenager? He's on the streets or something?
Maybe.
Is that when hard New York life Jake comes in? Because when does he come into play, and why does he come into play? That's what I'm wondering next.
Yeah, because he definitely has been hinted at a bunch. So it's...
Oh, yeah. They had a cab going by at the end as well, remember?
Had a cab going by. They've had cabs in the background. And then there was the third sarcophagus, too.
Yeah.
So it's... Like, at first I was like, oh, maybe that is like a nod to Jake. And then I was like, oh, it's just an insane asylum. And there's tons of people here. So whatever. That's probably not Jake. But now that we know, like, this is his insane asylum, everyone around him is... Harrow's men or somebody he's killed or there for his redemption or whatever. So that sarcophagus 100% was Jake. So yeah, it's I doubt that they will, because there's one episode left, they'll be like, there's a third character.
Yeah,
unless the whole episode is focused around him.
Do you know what? I don't want to spoil anything until we get to that stage, but something happens later on in the episode.
Well, let's forward it along here.
Yeah. All right. So before they get to the bedroom scene, they go back to the insane asylum, and Harrow is Dr. Harrow is there, and Mark's talking to him, and then he goes, well, because we see him in the insane asylum before talking with Dr. Harrow. Or Ethan Hawke or whatever, and he had a broken nose and he was all fucked up. This time around, he comes back into the doctor's office and he doesn't have a broken nose. So there's a couple things. Either he's in there forever and he's brainwashing him more, and there's so many things. I do think that it was symbolic, and that he no longer has a broken nose and a bunch of cuts all over him because he's literally healing himself internally, and this is mostly in his mind. So it is like a physical representation of him becoming healed and becoming better. So I think that kind of makes sense. And Harrow being the antagonist in his mind is the one that he's fighting against, and he's pushing him to make all of these changes and everything. So then he goes, oh, you're trying to reconcile with Steven. I'd really like to talk to him. We need to get him out and to discuss with him or whatever. And then he, before this, he's bashing his head because Steven is like, oh, it's all your fault, which is call back to what his mother said. So again, Steven's kind of like a manifestation of his guilt and that other side of his life. So when he says something that triggers him, he loses his shit and starts beating the shit out of his face and just goes, I'm not going to do it. I don't want it. It's not my fault. And then he snaps into the recovery state, and that's when Harrow's there. So then he goes with Mark into the bedroom. We then find out, and then Steven finds out that he's been made up this whole time, wasn't the original, allegedly, as far as whatever.
Who knows at this point right now?
Yeah. And so then they go back into the bedroom, and then they go back into the hall. Then Mark then starts yelling at him, and then Steven is just like, no, I want out, because he's losing his shit, because he's just figuring out his entire reality is nothing.
He went nuts.
And he's like, so he starts losing his shit, and he goes, I want out, and then he pops up in Harrow's office. And so then Steven's talking with Harrow, with Ethan Hawke, and because he told him, because Mark told him, like, you have the perfect outlook on Mom, that she was a saint, that she's still alive, and he's just like, and so I called it episode 1, his mom's dead. I
think I said that.
I don't remember.
I think we both agreed on that. We were both talking about that this is a fake phone call. We both said that Mark had probably set up this for Steven.
Well, because the cards that she was sending him were the same cards that were in the museum.
You brought that point in, and I was like, this sounds like she's just a fake person that Mark set up.
Yeah.
All right. So we formed that. Like Harold saying that, hey, what is this, some sort of crazy movie or something? We don't inject people, and we saw in the previous scene that they did inject him, all that. I don't know what's going on here. Like, what is the purpose of this scene where he keeps coming back to Arthur Harrow's character? What is this all about? Like, I don't understand this scene, why he's griping with this situation with Harrow, right? Especially now that they know they're dead, he's dead, or they are dead. And they're on the boat. I don't understand why they're going back to that office again. In the beginning, I get it, because they didn't realize they were dead and they're still in this state, right? But now that they know all this and they're on the boat and they go back and forth through these doors, they know that each one of these doors is to figure things out. Is Harold part of the balancing act that they have to deal with?
Well, I think he still isn't 100% sure he's not fucking crazy.
I think he is crazy.
Oh, he's crazy. Yeah.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah. But I think maybe having that. I think maybe him having that doctor there though is kind of his thinking, like, okay, I'm crazy. I know I am, and he is to a degree. Even let's pretend that because we don't know anything. Let's pretend that all the events prior to this episode were completely real and that all happened. Regardless of all that, he's still crazy. He's got multiple personalities. He's I don't want to say that's crazy, but for the sake of this, we'll say that's crazy. He thinks that he needs help. He needs a doctor. We've seen when he was talking to kind of that assembly
mental disorder.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. When we saw him talking to the group of gods, and they said, Khonshu, ignore Khonshu. Let us know. Like, are you okay? And he's like, no.
This is a safe
I need help.
space.
Yeah, they said that, and he's like, no, I'm not okay.
I'll be right back, guys. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. And that, I think that kind of let us know that he himself, he recognizes there are things wrong with him and he needs help. And so that the idea of the doctor is just him helping himself, him in his mind trying to help work his way through what's going on. Similar to how he invented Stephen Grant, he's kind of inventing this doctor, although the doctor is not another persona, it's just in his mind.
Yeah, I think it's him like taking, because as we saw in the facility, like it was a lot of Harrow's henchmen who were working there, so it's literally just his mind. Like it's kind of on that thing of like your mind flashes before your eyes before you die, and it's just taking all the things around him and that are immediately in his memory of just like, this is real because here's all these things in your mind, and it's just like projecting them onto that. And Dr. Harrow is, because it was such a integral part of his life of like, this is the guy I'm fighting with. Obviously that's the doctor across the table from him telling him he's wrong and that he doesn't know what he's talking about and trying to help him. So then it's that, and also too the level of self-righteousness that Harrow has in the reality that the last few episodes have been taking. They've been fighting that, but essentially they're doing the same thing. They are both trying to take out the wicked and save the righteous. And so there's that level of like, they're on the same path, but they're just doing it differently, and that's why they disagree. So that's why his brain is just like, that's the guy you're arguing with. And so again, it's still unclear, and even in the end of the episode, we still don't know like what reality is. And I don't know of many shows that have gone multiple episodes of just like, here's a curveball, fuck you, you don't know what's real and you don't know what the last few episodes happened, you still don't know that. You gotta watch the last episode to figure out if all of this is real or fake. And it was still really impressive. I looked up the director. It was the same. It was Mohammed Diab, same guy who did the first episode and another one, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, tonally, this episode was so good.
Yeah, it was a very different feel than the past ones. The past ones were all kind of like action based. Some of them were your slight horror kind of mystery. This one very much, I wouldn't even say that this one's mystery. This is kind of suspense mindfuck. Yeah,
it's like a psychological drama adventure thing. There's a lot of genres thrown in this one. But so yeah, then they get on the boat because, well, then they get to the street and then they have the talk there, and then they get onto the boat. And then she's like, oh, your shit's balanced, you're good. And then zombies start coming up. And then there's the action. So they did have some action in this. They make a cricket joke right when he like was holding it and then whacked him with it, and I was just like, oh, that's, I didn't think that they were going to point to it, but I was just like, oh, that's a nice little like British thing to put into the Steven character of just like he's hitting him like a cricket bat, and then he goes 6, and I was like, hey, they did do a cricket thing. And then he goes, oh, I prefer cricket, and I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And then Steven gets thrown overboard.
Yeah, that shocked me. And he got thrown overboard saving Mark too.
Yeah. And so it's bound. I thought the whole thing with the episode was going to end with them having to make a decision, and the whole like Steven figuring out that he's not real, and the fact that their hearts weren't balancing. I thought, yeah, Elvin, I think you mentioned this. They were going to have to you thought they were going to combine them in the beginning or something, or and I thought because they kept being unbalanced, they were going to have to do a like, oh well, it's unbalanced because there's 2 of them, so we only gotta pull one. Well, which one do we do? And then Steven does a like, oh, you're the real one, I'm just fake, just you go.
Just disappears.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna do some like sappy bullshit of like, oh no, I love you, no, I love you, oh come here. So I was waiting for that because it's fucking Disney. They didn't. They essentially came to the same end, but Steven whacks the dudes, falls off the thing, turns to fucking sand, and dies. And
yeah,
that was a brutal way to go, huh?
Although his heart's still there, though. His heart doesn't disappear.
His heart is still there too. You do make a good point. But then Mark wakes up in a field in
Saskatchewan.
Beautifully shot. Yeah, Saskatchewan. So this motherfucker goes to Saskatoon to fight Ethan Hawke, and a beautiful shot scene. Just
North Dakota.
Chef's kiss. Yeah, whatever.
If you're in the US.
And then it ends with his head eclipsing the sun, and then credits roll. And I was
mad.
Why were you mad? Tell me why you're mad.
I didn't want it to end. I wanted more.
I agree. Yeah, no, it was a phenomenal ending to a season or a series premiere or series finale. Like this, this was the finale. It absolutely, but this was just like it ended, and I was just like, holy shit! I can't wait to see the next episode. That hasn't, not just to this show, but like to a lot of shows. Rarely am I just like, whoa, what's gonna happen in the next episode? Since like Breaking Bad, or like something to that effect. Of losing my shit when an episode ends and can't wait to see the next one. This one ended, and I was just like, that was wonderful.
Yeah,
it sort of redeemed itself versus the last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. There's so many little archaeological hints in that last one.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to go over the last episode.
I know. It's a shame. I would have.
And it was like the most.
We did well. Though.
Yeah,
we did well though. We
did all of our research.
We took our textbooks out of our closets.
Totally.
And we, dusted off the papyrus, right? And we did
got
our
all
best.
the ancient texts right here.
Yeah, there you go. Mine are still wrapped in these mummified things that I had on. But yeah, no, we did our best. I wasn't feeling last week's episode.
Yeah, I think we both ranked it the worst one so far.
It was the worst episode in my opinion out of all of them. Yeah.
Well,
I don't remember
that day. I was writing a paper about Alexander the Great.
Of course you were.
Really?
And then, that very day I was writing a paper about it. And then, of course, they don't just mention it, he plays a pivotal role.
Yeah.
In that episode. And as soon as they said Macedonian, I'm like, oh my god, it's Alexander.
Yeah.
You were nerding out.
He's the holy, his burial, it's the holy grail of classical studies. Because no one knows where it is. It's the holy grail for classical studies.
So what you're saying is we take an A&R field trip? Can you imagine us in the desert? Can you imagine us in the desert looking for this?
We'll do a dig.
No, forget that. We want to get subscribers. Subscribe and we'll go and do this.
Yeah, hit subscribe. We'll go to Macedonia and fuck up an ancient burial ground.
Live stream doing tomb robbing.
I'm not joking. Like if enough people subscribe to us and they want us to go there, we'll grab some shovels in the backpack.
We'll make any laws for subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. We'll dig up any burial site. Oh man. Yeah, anything.
Well, no, sorry. The second half of the episode was awesome. The first half, I wanted to fucking die.
Oh yeah, I watched your review of it last week with the first half. I do agree it was a little cringy, especially when they couldn't find her in the truck. It's like this is a desert. You're looking around and you can't see her. She's obviously in the truck.
Yeah. All right. There is rolling hills of sand, which are a complete matte, just sheet of fucking nothing. And we have a flashlight and the moon. Hold, there's a truck. Nah, we'll get to that later. As she's just like,
no. We'll turn our backs to it as well. We'll turn our backs to it as well.
What's in the truck? No, but again, maybe they get paid minimum wage and they're just like, whatever, fuck it. We looked, okay? I don't get paid enough to deal with that shit.
Well, since you weren't here last week, why don't we get your score out of 10 for last week?
Last week? Oh boy. For me, the thing that I didn't really like was that the intro for that episode was seeing her in the desert. I had nothing against them starting at that point, because usually they, as we said earlier in this episode, they like to start off exactly at the point that the last episode finished. But the flare, her throwing it onto the bullets is just weird.
It's so cringy.
It's a movie magic.
Yeah.
No, it's just like red barrels explode. This is a movie video game logic.
Yeah. And Justin, I think you're trying to think of I think the actor's name's Sam Neill. But but the character he plays is Dr. Grant.
Oh shit, you're right.
You're thinking of Dr. Grant.
Elvin,
which is kind of funny.
Jurassic Park, when I was like,
yes.
What's his name from James Bond? That's that doc. What's his first name? It's not Stephen Grant, obviously. Is
it Ethan? No, it's not Ethan.
That's I don't know if that's intentional, but if that
100% that's intentional.
It's Alan Grant.
Alan Grant? Okay, that 100% excuses that scene. Because honestly, that's enough of a nod of just like, she's got a flare, Grant's, okay, here's a thing. And because I 100% I was just like, I want to replay my favorite scene from Jurassic Park. And the fact that his name's Grant, it's just like, all right, that's something that somebody just like injected of just like, here's a funny thing.
Yeah, it would be funny. Although it is, what's it? It's owned by Universal, Jurassic Park. So I don't. They couldn't make that too obvious for people.
Yeah. But they can do nods. They can do homages and cameos or whatever.
Yeah. But anyways,
royalties.
Yeah. But my review for that one, I do a 9.5. The beginning, I wasn't a huge fan.
Whoa!
I loved that episode.
The second really half.
Yeah.
No,
the second half was great.
What did I give? I gave it a 6.5. That's what I gave.
Yeah, 6.5? I think I gave it a 7 or something.
You said you listened to it. Obviously, you didn't.
I didn't finish the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Usually I do, but I was driving.
We bored you, huh? Okay.
No. I got home. That's why I had to stop listening.
Yeah.
You
and he had to keep writing a paper about Alexander.
Modern technology stops when you get in the house, right?
I had papers and exams.
Okay, honestly, the grants thing, that kind of
could have helped you with your exam. We did a good analysis of Egyptian culture.
Totally. We remembered all of the names and all the
Macedonia.
That was such a cool part. I loved so much that they added that in there, and that kind of makes sense because I'm sure Alexander the Great was like, he conquered a lot of places. He was, and he conquered it at the front lines. He was not a general or a king that led from behind. He was always up front. He was known.
You mean Napoleon?
Yeah. Alexander is known to have tons of battle scars and wounds, and having him as the what's her name, Amat, as her avatar, and her avatar being kind of this aggressive, vicious, almost a killer that passes judgment. I thought that was perfect setup between the two.
Just to be clear, that's the MCU Alexander, not real life.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And no, Indiana Jones would not be considered part of the MCU. Sorry, I was just thinking there for a second. Not yet. I was just thinking if they did a crossover.
That's the one plane that Harrison Ford hasn't jumped over yet. He's done Star Wars in Indiana. He wants to get into. Sorry,
it'll be Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
No. But what was the last?
I can't believe you gave it a 9.5.
I loved it. Okay, for me, I saw a ton of references to stuff that I loved.
You saw it from your angle, right? So
from my angle. But there's also that horror aspect that they introduced, and that scene where they're around the kind of, I don't want to call it, but they're around the table, and
the preparation table, right?
Yeah. And yes, and that kind of, that priest, that undead priest, that sound he's making, that clicking, that just got me like, this is perfect. Disney is not, they're not trying to Disneyfy this and just have him, kind of lumber around. Or groan.
Like, it was fucking creepy.
That was great. I loved that. That's why that the horror aspect plus all the archaeological tidbits, like even, okay, this is completely theory, but Alexander the Great, he kind of, after him, Ptolemy the First started the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, which is just after the New Kingdom. And in the New Kingdom, they buried all the burials in the New Kingdom were very similar to how Alexander the Great's burial was, as depicted in MoonKnight. So them burying him in that way is how there's if he was buried in Egypt, we don't know for certain, but if he was buried in Egypt, which is what Ptolemy the First apparently claims to have done, he said he stole Alexander the Great's body as it was on its way back home to Macedonia and buried him in Egypt instead to help. His grave, or his tomb, would have looked similar to how without the giant pitfalls and traps and undead priests. It would look kind of similar to how they depicted it in MoonKnight, by having it carved into the stone in a cliff. Not a cliff, but at the base of a cliff, kind of in a valley, trying to keep it hidden, not in a big temple or a pyramid or anything like that.
To like show off or anything, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what they used to do. But then in the New Kingdom, all the pharaohs realized that's how you get robbed. So they tried to hide the tombs a bit. And so that's kind of what they did with Alexander the Great.
But they hid it too well. We couldn't find it.
Well, no one could find it still. So yeah, they did.
It's probably robbed and somebody has it in their personal collection.
Honestly, it's probably either been, you're right, robbed and someone's got it
or destroyed.
hidden away. Destroyed, yes. The Brits used to consume mummy bandages and crap like that. Or we've discovered it and we've just mislabeled it and we think it's something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
right,
sorry.
Let's. Yeah. You didn't have a chance to speak last week, so it's good. Yeah, you have a 9.5 out of 10 on that. All right, let's talk about this week's episode score. Who wants to go first?
You.
Me? Okay. I'm gonna give this episode an 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good solid 8.5.
What was wrong with it?
I didn't like the ending, how it just ended in this field where he's on, right? To me, I was like, could you ended it a worse way? We were having so much fun. What other part? I didn't like the Harrow scenes. I could do without that now. I think it's kind of, let's put that away now.
I guess you were kind of gone for this conversation that we had about it, actually. Yeah. But to recap, essentially that is more or less his psyche rationalizing healing, because he, in some scenes, or in the beginning, he was all beaten up, and then in the second time that he was in the doctor's office, all the bandages were gone and he didn't have a black eye or anything, so that was signifying him healing because he'd gone through a bunch of shit with Steven. And Harrow being the antagonist in this whole thing, and them essentially having the same goal of, purging the evil and bringing up the righteous. They essentially have the same goal, but they're going about it different ways, so they disagree with each other. So that's why his mind has put Harrow in the person across the table from him, confronting him with all of these difficult things and making him think inwardly, because he's the guy he's been fighting this whole time. And in that type of situation, doctor-patient thing, you are having someone ask you difficult questions and you going, no, fuck you, and then being like, you should do this, it's good for you. So in his mind, that kind of is what he's rationalizing and why he keeps going back to that, because at this point, Mark is still just like, he's accepted he's crazy. Like, he's flat out said it a couple times. So that's
All right, so what do you give it then out of 10?
Me, I give it a 10.
Whoa, 10.
Yeah. This episode,
I don't know about that.
This episode, it made me feel it. The action was whatever, but that wasn't the focus. There was some good choreography. The cinematography I thought was fucking beautiful. There were so many well thought out, very planned shots, not just like, oh, we need to get a shot of this.
How was the CGI? Because we've complained about that in the past.
CGI was fine. I looked really hard in my second time at the hippo, because that was the biggest CGI thing, and the animation on her was really good. The facial construction of her was really, really well done. There were so many little nuances of like muscles contracting when she would do like a different smile. And this is also very difficult to do with anthropomorphized beings when it's a talking hippo or talking animal or whatever. And there was a lot of thought, and I like credit to the animation team who went through, and because you have to kind of adapt, like, because human emotions are portrayed across a face more so than through speech or intention or whatever. And we're trained to recognize, like, when you curl up your lip, even when you're smiling, you can be like, oh, they didn't like that smile is fake. And they had a lot of those little tiny nuances in the hippo's face converted to a fucking hippo. So a lot of work went into that, and I really, really applaud the animation team, because though the textures could have been better, and like clearly she was CG and it wasn't like, oh, is that a real hippo? There was no bad parts. And it's a TV show and they have a budget, so they did the best that they could, and it was done really well. But there was a lot of fucking work that went into making that hippo fucking have emotions.
So I guess we figured out where the budget went for the CGI. It's the later end of the series instead of the beginning part of the series.
Yeah, that's usually in most TV shows. They kind of proof of concept.
You gave it 10. I get 8.5. What is Nathan gonna give it?
Oh, I'm a little different here.
Oh! Controversy.
Wait.
Well, hold on.
All right, I got to use it this episode.
So I did enjoy this episode,
but
first I'll go through the things I loved really quickly, because I don't want to criticize it too much. I thought that Oscar Isaac did a phenomenal job. I actually, up until later on after I watched the episode, did I actually realize, oh yeah, these two different characters are the same.
It was well done.
Yeah, that fucking blew my mind.
Yeah,
and it was everything from not just the costume and the hair, but very much his acting. It completely different personas that he just nailed and made me believe. I think the whole the CGI was good. It wasn't outstanding Avengers level. It wasn't bad. It was good.
It was fine.
And the story was great. It was dark, and I loved that. But I'm going to have to give this about a 7.5.
Whoa!
Fair enough.
And
I know what you're saying. I get it.
Mm-hmm. I've got a couple reasons for that. The most surface level reason, I got confused, and that was the point. They're trying to make us think: is he actually crazy, or is this all real and he's actually dead? But the problem was, I kind of still questioned if he was crazy, even once the episode ended. I was thinking, okay, is he actually just crazy? Is this really happening? And it took me a while to process and figure it out. I think that while watching the episode, there should have been a definitive moment. And I think that when he actually goes on the boat and he actually fights off the kind of the dead people that are trying to drag him down to the sand, I didn't find that too much of a definitive moment that clarified that he wasn't crazy, that this was real. To me, I was just thinking, okay, he could just be imagining this as well. So that was one of the reasons. The other one, I get it. This episode was trying to be dark and give us backstory, and there wasn't much action. But for me, Moon Knight is very much this kind of action adventure. It's the mix of that classic Indiana Jones adventure style with the Marvel superhero genre. And in this episode, I felt it really lacked that character.
So, sorry to cut you off. I want to stop you there for a second, because this is exactly how I was feeling prior to this episode. I'm like, where the hell is Moon Knight? You call this Moon Knight, and I see very little of Moon Knight. But what this episode did for me was, it made me realize this is a complete from the ground up backstory of the entire Moon Knight character. Not Moon Knight, sorry, Mark and everybody else. This is a complete foundation build for this character, because there's no report of this being a season 2. There's nothing. As far as we're all concerned, this is going to be his build up, his character development, all of that, and then he's going to get into the MCU big screen.
Yeah.
This show served its purpose. If by the end of this last episode next week, by the end of all of this is supposed to give you a complete breakdown of who this person is, because it is one of the most complicated characters in the MCU. And if you don't give it the 6 hours it needs, when he goes into the big screen, it'll be impossible to develop that character on a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Is like this is absolutely a
complete
an origin
bio
story. An origin story of this character, and that's why they've kind of, for lack of a better term, watered it down a bit. Because I don't think a movie would have served this. They would have watered it down a lot and pissed off a lot of people.
So when you look at it, when you look at it from the point of view, it's not Moon Knight. They should have called it Origin's Tale of Moon Knight or something like that.
Sure. Because
then you're gonna go into it understanding it more. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the title really helps new general even random audience, right?
Moon Knight Origins.
Yeah, like something like that. Like it would tell the general audience and then comic book at heart that, hey, taper your expectations about seeing Moon Knight flying around everywhere, stabbing people. This is an origin tale, so you get to understand this complex character, right?
And then we'll get a
like
Civil War movie or whatever, and he's gonna show up and fuck up a bunch of people, and we'll be all like, "Oh, that guy, cool."
Well, I mentioned to you guys that he is already. There's talks of them doing a Midnight Suns team up, right? Where you're gonna have Blade, Ghost Rider, and Black Knight with this guy. All 4 of them running around kicking ass.
I saw an interview. I think it was on Jimmy Fallon with Ethan Hawke, and of course he asked him a bunch of questions, and he was super stoic about he was like, oh, does Blade show up? Does this guy show up? Is Harrow this guy or whatever? And he was like, oh, that'd be cool. Oh, no, weird. Yeah, I don't know. He would have texted me. I don't know. Maybe he will show up. Then he was at the end. He was like, there's a bunch of speculation that Harrow is a pseudonym and Harrow is actually Dracula. And he was just like, I want that to be true. That's the fucking coolest one I've heard. That's such a good idea. Holy shit, I want that to be a thing.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this.
He asked him, he was like, does Blade show up? And he's like, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Oh, he showed up in the Black Knight end credit scenes for the Eternals. I just ruined it for anybody who hasn't watched Eternals.
Who cares? Nobody watched that one.
I kind of saved you. I kind of saved you 2 hours, actually. In fairness,
thank you. I didn't watch it, and I'm not going to.
Yeah,
so
I kind of.
I'm going to after this. I'm going to go onto YouTube and search Eternals end credit scene so I can see fucking Blade because he's a badass.
Here's the other thing. In the Eternals, there's a scene where they're in this ship, and I'm not trying to ruin it all for you guys, but there's actually artifacts in there which are really cool. So if you're gonna watch for anything, just maybe watch it for that scene and then get out of there. You're not missing a whole lot.
Maybe we should do a series breakdown of that show. So
let's not do that. That's punishment for me.
No, you don't have to. You can explain it to me.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll do that.
Oh yeah, off air I can.
YouTube
no
audience.
Yeah, I can always off air tell you all about it because we would lose our subscriber count, however little it is.
No. We just need to title it "We Watched Eternals," so you don't have to.
I think they've already caught on to that. A lot of people have not. I actually had the pleasure of spending money and taking my family to go watch it. So
that was a wonderful time that you spent with your family because you weren't fucking paying attention to the movie.
Yeah, well, my wife was not happy, but my kids were excited. They got to go have popcorn and watch a movie, so that's fine. It worked out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Coach isn't that uncomfortable.
So we got a 10, we got an 8.5, and we got a 7.5. We are all over the map. So anybody who's saying that we try to be too nice and give high scores, hello. Blame Justin.
I'm giving this a 10 as now while I 100% agree with both of you, as far as a series and a general story, it is disjointed. I looked up the director. It was Mohamed Diab, same guy who did the first episode and a different episode or whatever. I thought it was a completely different director because it just tonally felt really different. Not so much from the latter half of the last episode. It fully matched that and worked well with that one. I do agree that as a Moon Knight in a series, it doesn't have the adventure, it doesn't have the action, but as a character single, as a single piece of art, it was fucking beautiful. And that's why I gave it a 10, because there was nothing I would have changed in it. Even the part that I didn't like, or was kind of like, that's weird, was just her voice and her not her voice, but the cadence and the tonality of the hippo. But that was kind of her demeanor and the artistic direction, or the choice that they made to make her happy and jovial and whatever. But it was just like, okay, that's literally just making sure that people have something to grip onto in this depressive fucking slog that is this episode. And that makes sense. Like, that's but
okay, so
she did it well, and it was still believable and didn't pull me out of it. It was just like, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Did you guys miss Layla at all in this episode?
Who?
There you go. That's my guy right there. That's my guy. Who is the question? I said it before, and I'll continue saying it again. And Nathan, I didn't get your opinion on this because you weren't here last episode, but do you even care for this character? Does this character make a difference in the show, or you don't? What do you think? You know my opinion on it already.
Yeah, I know. I think they have a lot of potential for a great side character, but I think that's hard to do when your main character is already two people.
And Steve is the side character.
Yeah, you've already got side characters out there.
If that's not your thing, then you got Jake still hanging out in the back.
Yeah. The potential side character is still there. So I think she's got a very difficult time. Yeah. Very difficult trying to be a good side character, because you already have, if one character, let's say Mark's in control, well, Steven's going to be in the background talking to him and occasionally saying things. And generally, do you prefer Steven or Layla talking to Mark? Well, I prefer Steven. It's much more engaging and an interesting dynamic they have.
Well, again, I and we saw it in this episode too. Layla has always been the binding factor between Steven and Mark, and that has been her whole purpose. And it's the only thing that Steven has in common with Mark, is that he's like, this is a good person that I like, and that she's a good person and we should protect her. So why are you doing all these bad things? Hey, don't show her these things, it'll ruin her. Okay, I won't. Because as we've seen, anytime that Mark says, hey, don't look at that, he goes, fuck you, you're trying to hide something from me. I'm gonna go and like
Mark should change the strategy around, huh? Because it's not working.
Well, yeah, if he had have gone, don't go in there, it'll hurt Layla, Steven would have been like, oh, okay, yep, sorry. But he didn't. And at the end, when he was just like, and he flipped it, because normally Mark would use Layla against Steven to be like, don't do this, it'll hurt Layla. And this time around, Steven was just like, if you do this, it'll kill Layla, and it's your fault. And then he lost his shit and broke, and then they went to Harrow again. So he kind of flipped it on her. So so Layla's kind of always been the connecting factor between the two, and that's kind of the whole point of her. And to that regard, she is useful. And again, it's not bad writing, it's not bad acting or anything. It is literally, to your point, they already have enough side characters, so she's kind of superfluous at this point.
Here's the other thing. Are we gonna see Layla in the after, like, this whole episode you don't get to see Layla because she's not involved? Like, I'm surprised they didn't have a scene of when
they had her in the last episode.
No, I'm talking about this one. I'm like saying this specific episode. I'm surprised they didn't get a scene of the two of them, how they met. Right?
Well, it's not too important to the story, though.
Well, if it's not too important, then why is she even around?
Well, because
guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
That's again the glue between the two. He only got with her because he fucking killed her dad. So like, And that was
he kill her, Raul Bushman did.
Well, he got her dad killed.
Yeah,
Raul killed him.
Yeah,
but he was responsible for bringing the guy that fucking killed everyone. So then he had that because Mark's not a bad dude. He's still human and still has feelings. So, and that was explored in a previous episode, like. When she found out, or the last episode, when she found out, she was like, the only reason you met me is because of my dad, right? And he's just like, I gotta go over there. I left a food in the oven. And so a big factor, and probably why he's divorcing her at this point, because he's just like, I'm hurting you. The exact same thing that happened to your dad is now going to happen to you. Fuck, just get away from me, is to save her. So like, he obviously cares for her and is important to him. But a big factor of that is guilt, and which is why Steven, which again, if you like really want to peel it back, makes a lot of sense, because Steven was created so that he could be happy, and is now finding out that he is a figment of his imagination to protect himself, which is a selfish endeavor. So then the fact that he was responsible for killing her father, and is that guilt manifesting itself literally in Steven being like, fuck you, deal with this.
So you've put it so eloquently. All right, any last remarks or opinions? We're good. We're looking forward to him harvesting in Saskatchewan, and
it's gonna turn out to be Dexter. He's gonna go fuck off to Alberta and be a lumberjack or something.
Yeah, so
or Logan, I don't know. They all did that.
Episode 6 next week, man. That's it. That's all she wrote.
Yep. And then tune in to after. So you might be asking yourself, what happens to Popcorn Chicken after you guys are finished watching Oscar Isaac be insane? Obi-Wan double feature. Elvin's gonna be in Las Vegas and is gonna probably call in on a satellite phone.
There might be some loud music. There might be some lights behind me. There might be some.
It's gonna be fine.
There might be some casino chips thrown behind me while I'm talking.
That's fine.
At me or at the table.
I will be, since Elvin doesn't drink, I will be consuming enough alcohol for the both of us, because it'll probably be 4 in the morning.
I'm worried that the two of you will be able to carry it, or will not be able to carry it. You guys better do me proud.
We're gonna be talking about Star Wars for 2 hours, about 2 episodes. I think I'm okay.
This is the Kenobi show. I've been waiting for this for years.
Yeah.
I think our friend at Toy Crusaders might join you guys at some point. So please be nice to him, Trevor.
I will.
Don't yell at him, Justin. I know you like yelling. Don't yell at him.
I only yell at people I like.
That's why you keep yelling at me. Okay.
Ouch.
That's how I
feel, right?
Please don't split off.
Pull his heart out. Pull his heart out. Throw it on a scale.
A little Kalima.
Kalima.
Indiana Jones, that shit. All right. Okay. Justin, why don't you end it for us here? Tell them what they have to do. Go follow us on all that stuff.
If you are on YouTube right now, you should hit the subscribe button. If you're not on YouTube, that's fine. You're just listening to us and you don't get to see our beautiful faces. But trust me, they're beautiful. So go to our YouTube page, Astonishing News and Reviews, or just type in ANR. I don't know. We're pretty good at SEO. You can find it. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and leave a comment on every single video that you ever watch. Because if you do, you have a chance to win prizes. And Dio will then say thank you. Come on, buddy. Get up. Yeah, we're doing the end credits scene. Yeah, jump up. There you go, buddy. He knows his cue. We give away prizes every single month. So if you hit the subscribe button and you leave a comment, you might be one of those people. So, anyway, we'll see you next week. Party hard, Internet.
Yeah.